Okay, let's talk about AI and education. It is everywhere right now. And honestly, the whole conversation can get a little overwhelming. But what if we've been asking the wrong question this whole time? Today, we're going to explore how to use AI not just as some shiny new tool, but as a way to make our teaching fundamentally stronger. And we're going to do it without losing the one thing that matters most, student thinking. All right, let's jump right in.
You see, the real debate isn't about whether students use AI. They will. The real debate is about the quality of the learning that happens when they do. So the question we all need to keep in our minds is this. Is our use of AI making learning richer and deeper, or is it making it more shallow and thin? That's the lens for everything we're about to cover.
And that brings us to the core idea here. When we use it thoughtfully, AI doesn't have to weaken teaching at all. It can actually make it stronger. This is our chance to double down on the very practices we already know lead to deep, lasting learning. So let's get practical and look at 5 specific ways to do exactly that.
First up, and this one is a big one. It's all about setting a crystal clear expectation for how students engage with AI. The rule is super simple. Students have to attempt their work first before they ever turn to an AI tool for help.
And you can really see the difference here, right? On the left, you've got the AI before effort approach. You know the drill. Student has a blank page, asks AI for the answer, and poof, their own thinking just gets completely skipped. But check out the right side, AI after effort. This is a totally different ballgame. Here, the student has already done the hard work. They've got a draft, they've wrestled with the ideas. Now AI comes in, not as a shortcut, but as a partner. It helps them sharpen their thoughts, maybe find a clunky sentence, or just phrase something a little better. See, it's all about supporting their thinking, not replacing it.
So, this is the crucial takeaway. This should be the mantra in every single classroom. AI is the helper, the assistant that comes in after the initial brain work is done, never before. Thinking always comes first. Okay, so for our second way, we're going to shift the focus from the students over to us, the teachers. We can use AI not just to speed up our feedback, which is nice, but to dramatically improve its quality and, its actual impact on student learning. This really illustrates the difference perfectly. Using AI for just pure speed might mean asking it to spit out a grade or a generic comment like, "good job." But using it for learning, that's a whole other level. It starts with you, the teacher, defining what success actually looks like. Then you can prompt the AI with something like, "Based on my rubric, give me 3 specific questions I could ask this student to help them improve their conclusion." It becomes this incredible assistant for crafting targeted, effective feedback that actually helps kids get better. And this is absolutely key. You are not handing over the job of evaluation to a machine. Your professional expertise, your knowledge of your students, your judgment, that always stays right at the center of the whole process. The AI is your co-pilot, it's not the pilot.
All right, let's move on to our third way. And honestly, this might just be the most powerful application of them all. Using AI to support you, the teacher, during your planning time. This is where you can get a huge return on your time investment.
Just think about the possibilities. You can ask an AI to generate 5 different real-world analogies for a complex science concept. Or you could ask it to create sentence starters to help scaffold a writing task for struggling learners. Or maybe draft a really challenging extension activity for those kids who are ready to fly. And the best part? The students might not even know you used AI. This is all about freeing up your time and your creative energy so you can focus more on that irreplaceable face-to-face interaction with them. Our fourth way is all about making expert thinking visible. So often, our students see a polished final essay or a perfect solution, but they have no idea about the messy, step-by-step process it took to get there. Well, AI can help us pull back that curtain. We can actually use AI to generate worked examples that show the entire thinking journey. Just look at these steps. We can model how an expert would first define the problem, then brainstorm a few different ways to tackle it, create a rough first draft, and then, critically, go back to refine and justify their choices. By showing students this whole process, we demystify the hard stuff. We're not just showing them what to do, we're showing them how to think.
And now for our 5th and final way, which brings us right back to our students, because the ultimate goal here is to use AI to help them become more independent, more reflective, and more self-regulated learners.
This slide just captures the whole goal perfectly. On one hand, AI can absolutely crush independence if students just use it to get quick final answers. But if we teach them differently, it can become an amazing tool for independence. We can teach them how to prompt the AI with questions like, "What are the 3 biggest weaknesses in my argument?" Or, "Act like a Socratic questioner and challenge my thesis statement." That immediately shifts them from just getting answers to a process of real inquiry and reflection.
And that's the whole point, isn't it? We're not trying to optimize for speed, we're optimizing for depth. We are teaching our students how to use these incredibly powerful new tools to think more critically and more deeply about their own work.
So as we start to wrap this up, let's just be crystal clear. In all of this discussion, with all of this new technology, AI does not replace good teaching.
In fact, I think it does something much more powerful. It reveals what good teaching has always been about: asking great questions, designing thoughtful tasks, giving specific feedback, and most importantly, keeping student thinking at the absolute center of everything we do.
So the final question isn't really about which tool you should use. The real question is for you. How will you use these ideas to put thinking first in your classroom? Thanks so much for joining me.